Hey kids, you're listening to a couple of annoyed grunt boys, and this is the 138th Simpsons podcast.
Killing her softly with my words, ending her whole life with my knife, choking her softly with rope.
That's right, this is the Simpsons podcast that discusses the beloved animated sitcom The Simpsons from seasons 11 and beyond, and the newest episodes when they air, like this week's. Why do we do it this way? Well, the entity known as Wheel of Random has trapped us and cursed us to do this podcast in such a manner, because plenty of other podcasts out there have discussed the golden age, that being seasons 1 through 10, so we're tasked to see if any episodes can match that golden age. And I say we because I can't do this alone. I'm just one annoyed grunt boy named Craig. With me this week, as always, is the other annoyed grunt boy.
It's Steve. Hey, Craig.
I let you down, or we let each other down, and mostly we let our podcast family down.
It's true, and they've come to expect disappointment from the annoyed grunt boys, but this feels especially egregious.
Don't worry, we are working on the Patreon any day now. For the past couple of years, we've been talking about the movies, and one podcast a couple of years ago, we went to see Todd Phillips's The Joker. Remember that movie, Steve? The Joker?
I do, yes.
And we had a lot of fun watching that, an adventure. And we said when Joker 2 comes out, we're there opening weekend. And, well, Steve, opening weekend came and went.
Yeah.
Who didn't went, we won't want to know.
We didn't went and want to went to won't.
Yeah, we had other things to do that weekend, so that's probably a reason. And also, if you look on the reviews online, it's not good.
Yeah, look, we're going to have Lady Gaga on the show
right
very soon, and we're going to review this episode that she's on, and I just didn't want, first of all, I didn't want the sway of the show to, our show, to, affect the box office in a positive or negative manner. I didn't want people to go see Joker 2 just because Lady Gaga is going to be on our show. Because I want the movie to stand on its own merits, and also, I want to talk about The Simpsons because we're a Simpsons podcast, so I didn't want Lady Gaga to, fill up our show with promotions about her movie.
I think at this point, she might be able to do our podcast now.
It's true. And, maybe we don't need her.
I haven't actually read any reviews. I've just read headlines and seen headlines about Joker 2, but I haven't read any specifics of why people don't like it. I'm going to keep that because I'm still very curious of why this movie is being dragged through the mud. And, I still want to see it. It's much like was last year's Madam Web, if we're talking about comic book movies, like how much that got trashed on. Because of that, when I watched Madam Web, I enjoyed it because of how silly it was.
That is an undeniably enjoyable film. It's not a good film, but it's fun to watch.
It's one that I will, go back and watch again because of Dakota Johnson's acting is the greatest in that movie.
It's certainly something. I have also not read a lot of reviews, or any reviews really about Joker 2, but I think it basically comes down to sexism and people being afraid. When I say people, I mean dudes being afraid of enjoying a musical.
Yeah.
And I think that's largely part of the issue is that unless it's about America's founding fathers, straight white dudes are afraid of musicals, even though they can be very enjoyable. And maybe that's kind of why this movie isn't doing as well, is because they're afraid of what people perceive if they do enjoy it.
Huh. Well, Steve, I like a musical, and you know what TV show has done lots of musicals?
What's that, Greg?
Glee.
That's true, yeah, there is a lot of them.
And you know what network Glee is on, or was on?
Yeah, I believe it was on Fox.
Yeah, and you know what animated show airs on Fox?
The PJs.
That, and of course, Crapopolis.
Ah, yes.
But you know what airs before Crapopolis?
I don't, actually.
I think it's The Simpsons. So let's talk about The Simpsons.
Okay, that seems fair.
I could have also segued into a very popular show that airs on Sunday night, Steve.
Bob's Burgers.
And that's the White Lotus.
Ah, yes.
But instead, we're going to talk about the Yellow Lotus, which is this week's episode.
Oh, yeah.
That's right, we're talking about the Yellow Lotus. It's season 36, episode 2, in which the Simpsons encounter death on vacation at the high-end resort, known as the Yellow Lotus. Yeah. Steve, are you ready to put your eyes on your TV?
I mean, not directly on there, but yes, I am.
Okay. Steve, I am going to take a little break. I suggest you do the same thing.
I think I will.
All right, we'll be right back. And we're back. Today we're talking about the Yellow Lotus. It's the second episode of the 36th season, originally aired October 6th, 2024. It's episode 770 in the show's run. The nerd code is 35ABF08, written by Loni, Steele, Sosthand, directed by Matt Faughnan, and the showrunner, Al Jean.
Alrighty, Loni Steele Sosthand is a writer, producer for The Simpsons. She joined around 2020, but she's written 3 episodes so far. The Sound of Bleeding Gums, Carl Carlson Rides Again, and The Yellow Lotus, all of which we've reviewed. Fun thing about The Sound of Bleeding Gums, she was also the sister of Eli Steele, who played in that episode as a hearing-impaired person, so it's kind of got a nice family feel to it.
And she is hearing impaired?
Her sibling is.
Okay. Is that the correct term?
I believe it is. I could be mistaken if anybody is hearing this.
You know what's great, Steve? I'm saying anyway. You know what's great, though, is about, we badmouth AI a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's mostly for things like art, writing scripts and songs, generating imagery as well.
Right.
Yes, we do it because it's fun. But one of the nice advantages of AI is for the hearing impaired to listen to this podcast, because if you go to like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, our podcast has a transcript. The AI has transcribed our podcast. Now, yes, some things are, not the correct thing, because a lot of times I'll look at it and say, we're the annoyed, annoyed gurgle boys or something like that, or but some words, aren't correctly translated, but it's still kind of cool. You can go through and read the transcript of this podcast.
Yeah, it is very cool.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. She's only written, 2 episodes, like you said, right?
This is number 3, yeah.
Or 3, right. The Sound of Bleeding Gums, Carl Carlson Rides Again, and then this one, The Yellow Lotus. Wow.
It's cool to see new voices and new people, as we said before, but it's kind of cool to see up-and-comers, so it's not all just your Matt Selmans or your Al Jeans or whatever.
Seth Rogen's.
Yeah.
Always writing episodes of The Simpsons, Seth Rogen. And Evan Goldberg.
Of course.
But, Steve, this is episode 2, season 36. Are you excited to get into this week's episode?
I am. We had kind of an experimental one last week, so let's see where this one goes.
Are you still riding high on that first episode of the season?
I think I might be. So, I just hope that they can keep that momentum going. Staying fresh, staying modern, trying things that are in the zeitgeist.
You're really bad at poker. You show your hands way too often. We don't even discuss the episode off pod.
Uh-huh.
And I can already see where you're going with this. But hey, maybe I'll change your mind.
Yeah, I don't want to sway you either, because, I'm actually curious to see your experience of this, because, well, we'll get into it. But our episode begins, as it always does, at the extravagant Yellow Lotus Resort, which sits on a sandy beach of, we'll say, Sicily. In a water near a cave, Homer and Marge kiss. Homer tells his lovely wife that he loves it when she grabs his little butt with her cold, stiff fingers. But Marge regretfully informs him that she is not touching his butt, and they realize that a dead body is floated next to them. And Homer shouts, "Save me, Baywatch!"
I was watching, oddly enough, the Simpsons on Fox, and a commercial came on. I'm like, did they reboot Baywatch? And watch this commercial. There's lifeguards. They got the appropriate lifeguard gear, Baywatch. They're supposed to wear that color, I guess. And it's not. But I'm like, this. I don't know what show is called, Rescue something. Again, apparently bad at advertising because the title didn't grab me. But I just see sexy lifeguards in the ocean and then kissing or
Yeah, whatever show that is, it feels like it's infringing on the whole deal of Baywatch, because aside from saving people and being sexy, that show didn't have a whole lot, unless, they have something fresh on Hobie.
Okay, here it is. It's called Rescue High Surf. But seriously, why don't they just call this Baywatch reboot?
Mm-hmm.
But we're not here talking about that, of course. Sorry.
Yeah.
When Homer said save me Baywatch, I thought it's kind of a funny Homer joke. Well, we go to a White Lotus style opening. So I'm told, Steve, I haven't still yet to see White Lotus, where various mural art is shown while frantic, nonsensical, feminine singing is heard. So some of the classicalism art is shown Agnes Skinner in a debutante being chaperoned by Super Nintendo Chalmers, and Seymour Skinner spies in the shadows, of course, full of jealousy. Then Otto's playing the lute for a potential love interest who has a knife behind her back. And then a painting of the nuclear power plant with one of the cooling towers oozing toxic goo. Moe as a senator playing a Lear, Leg as Louie, and Frankie stabbing Quimby as though he were a Julius Caesar. And Krusty and Sideshow Mel as masks of comedy and tragedy, Maggie as Cupid and Homer, and Marge reprising their roles from The Simpsons, Bible stories as Adam and Eve, which we can never review that episode, Steve.
That's true. We also have Bart cutting off the head of a Barney statue, much like he did to Jebediah Springfield, speaking of episodes that we can't talk about. And the song tells of rich, sexy people behaving badly, which should make the broke and unknown feel better about themselves. On a boat, Martin blows a tuba, blasting Nelson into the water, and coincidentally the night before, Martin blew a rusty trombone, causing Nelson to blow a lot more than water. The singer goes on to wonder how the wealthy eat endless brunch and look like that, suggesting that it may be Ozempic.
I think our listener should send us some Ozempic to try it out. How about that?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Particularly me. You're fine. You don't need it.
I feel like people get weird with Ozempic, though, because their heads stay the same size.
Yeah.
And their bodies get smaller, so they look like a mascot or something.
Well, you're referring to celebrities, right?
Yeah.
You know, most celebrities, not because of ego, do have big heads. Like, apparently, like, casting directors really love actors with big heads.
Huh.
Because there's more of expression they can have on screen. I'm not saying she has a big head, but like Kristen Chenoweth, right? Like, very tiny, diminutive lady, but she's got kind of a big, full face.
Mm-hmm. So the ideal person is, like, 1/3 head.
Yeah.
So, like, if they made movies back in the olden days, the Easter Island statues would be, like, big stars.
They probably were the actors of those days.
That's right.
Well, there's your inside baseball, but not baseball, but acting. And, I could think of many big-headed actors, but, do I shame them?
I don't know.
Rainn Wilson, he's kind of got a big head.
Oh, yeah.
Cole Meany.
John Lithgow.
Yeah. I feel like Jack Nicholson has kind of a big head.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Tom Cruise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I hear Liam Neeson has a big head, too.
No, he has a big hog.
Oh, okay. That's tomato.
Liam Neeson's head on his hog is the size of Tom Cruise. Like,
wow.
All of Tom Cruise. Yeah.
It also does its own stunts.
We should just measure things in Liam Neeson cock, Stop with these, like, kilometers and miles and inches and just be the Liam Neeson cock,
It's universal because he's both European and American, so it's, it works for both pawns.
Like, you could ask, how tall is the Statue of Liberty? And then someone gives you, like, how many feet it is. It should just be like, oh, it's 4 Liam Neeson cocks.
It's funny, I was thinking that it'd be about 4.
Hey, Steve, we're back to The Simpsons, okay? Hog talk over, okay?
Sorry. We'll get back to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, we will. 1 week earlier, Springfield's neediest minority, the wealthy elite, sit aboard the Yellow Lotus charter ship, eager to begin their luxurious vacation. So Rainier Wolfcastle basks in the sun while Fat Tony, Miss Vanderbilt, and Dedrick Tatum chat over cocktails. Kent Brockman reports seemingly to no one about the exclusive report before offering some breaking news. That news being that he is breaking a lobster claw, dipping it in butter and shoving it in his mouth.
Yeah, it's funny because he's just kind of holding a microphone and talking to, nobody.
Oh, much like this podcast.
That's sadly true. Meanwhile, on the far less fancy Drooping Dandelions, crew members Gil and Crazy Cat Lady sit next to the Simpsons, who are in their vacation gear. Homer is excited. Marge seems worried. Lisa sits with her head in her hands, and Bart is sporting a frowny-faced bucket on his head. Marge wonders if this is the actual timeshare they purchased, and Homer, checking the paperwork with his tiny glasses, which we love to see, assures her that it's the exact same address that they've been paying into for the past 10 years. As Marge witnesses a helicopter drop a human chain of acrobats to serve martinis to guests on the beach below, she worries that it might be too good a place for the Simpsons to have a reservation.
I know we've talked about timeshares many times on this podcast, I'm assuming.
Probably.
You know, there's so much like stigma against the timeshare. But if you really think about it, it's not that bad because, you know, how often do you go on vacations, right?
Right.
I'm just saying that you and I should probably look into this, Steve.
Are you trying to sell me a timeshare right now?
Well, I'm just saying, like, you and I, you know, and your wife, sometimes you don't have to go with me. I'm just saying, like, there's this nice property on this island that, you know, if I don't have the entire money, I know that you might. I'm just saying, like, it'd be kind of fun if, like, we do this together. Okay,
yeah. Maybe you could tell me more about this over, like, a free brunch or something.
It's a good idea. Maybe at the La Quinta Inn continental breakfast tomorrow at 6 a.m., all right?
Sounds great.
Well, Homer tells her to read the paperwork and weep with joy because it's all legit. We then go back 10 years ago in a hotel conference room where real estate agent Nick Callahan, first seen in Season 9's Reality Bites, which sadly we can never review, which is also, sadly, Phil Hartman's last episode.
Oh, yes, that's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Reality Bites. I said Reality Bites. Apologies. So he's selling timeshares to potential suckers. So he informs the rapt audience, which includes a portrayal of the Simpsons writer and producer Mike Reiss and his wife, that though he is legally forbidden from saying that timeshare is a good investment, it is a very good investment.
As the presentation continues, a pregnant and uncomfortable Marge suffers as an unborn Bart uses her womb as a trampoline, his tiny feet poking out at Marge's belly. Now, you and your partner recently had a baby. Does that happen? Do limbs kind of like poke out from the womb?
Not like that, but you can feel like, you know, body parts.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Although it was really creepy to watch that our baby was a C-section baby because she was breached. She was just up top and she never turned. And so there's inversion therapy that they can do, which they literally, there's like 2 doctors try to push the fetus down.
Oh.
And it's really creepy watching like the belly and stomach like move that way.
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine.
Unfortunately, my daughter's very stubborn and that didn't give, so she had to come out the old cut way. It's because she has a big head, which means, Steve, my daughter's going to be an actor.
Yes, and all the mental security that comes with being in show business.
Look, I'm not going to force her, but I'm going to make her do auditions, even if she doesn't want to.
That's right. I mean, you can just assure her that you'll hang on to all the money that she makes until she turns 18 or 35 or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not going to be bound to that Jackie Coogan law. Steve, if you don't know about that, that's the law that mandates that 15% of the child actor's earnings be placed in a trust account. So mom and dad can't take their money.
Oh.
Yeah, bummer.
I don't know. I think that the parents, you know, they birthed them. They should keep the money.
Yeah, that's my cum that's on the screen. Jesus.
You should really wipe that off before you watch your daughter's performance. God damn.
All right. Steve, do we have a clip?
Yeah. Marge then shares her skepticism about the timeshare and the investment opportunity within.
And Consumer Reports says timeshares are the worst investment in real estate.
Hey, I am not selling you real estate. I'm selling you something that is much more valuable than property. Points.
Points, eh?
Points that you can trade in for a dream vacation anytime, except on blackout dates. Your unborn children will inherit your points and your fees. It's a steal for me.
Woohoo!
Why, you?
Yeah, quick question. Is he mooning me?
The baby's behind speaks for us all when it says we should leave now.
Well, of course, you're not prisoners. But if you leave, you are breaking the law. And you'll end up in prison unless you sign this contract.
Oh, no, Steve. If you don't sign the contract for a timeshare, you're going to jail?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's how it works.
You know, I think I'd rather be in jail than in a timeshare agreement.
Yeah, I think so. And also just that the idea of like going to a brunch with other suckers to talk about all the possibilities, that almost seems worse than the actual timeshare to me. Like just being in a hotel conference on like a Tuesday at 10 a.m., just hearing people like trying to live a better life. I don't know why. It just bums me out. I think maybe because I worked in the hotel industry, or maybe, I don't know. It saddens me.
You had probably many run-ins of that kind of situation, right?
Yeah, and just, scammers and like people who want better and just are kind of naive in the best method to go about it.
I recently got in the mail, it wasn't for a timeshare, but it was like a company about replacing windows and doors. And it was like, here's your free opportunity to go to this restaurant, reserve a spot now. Spaces are limited, and a presentation with, why you need doors and windows, and your meal is free. And I'm like, what if I did do that? Like, is it worth a free meal to sit there for like 3 hours, 4 hours?
Yeah, I mean,
for like a meal that's probably like, all right, just make some like fettuccine. And it's just like the easiest thing to make. Here's some butter noodles. Enjoy.
We have RC Cola.
RC Cola reminds me of bars, so I'm fine with that.
Sure. But, in that clip, there's all that talk of points. What is this? Chris Hardwick on At Midnight? That might seem like a dated reference, but the clip that we just heard was from 10 years ago, which would be 2014, and At Midnight debuted in 2013, and now it's enjoying new glory as After Midnight on CBS.
Does Taylor Thomason, who's the host, does she say points to people?
I think so, but not with the same enthusiasm or Chris Hardwick kind of made that his whole thing was points. And I think she just says, yeah, you got some points.
Oh, yeah, the gravitas. Was there a lot of merchandise with like Chris Hardwick and like a air bubble saying like points on like a shirt? Like that's what they should have, catchphrase. That was his catchphrase of those 10 years ago.
Yes. So during the time that show was on, I actually went to a taping of it in LA.
That stands for Los Angeles.
Sorry, thank you. Yes, not Louisiana. Aside from meeting fellow former Simpsons podcaster Allie Gertz, who was a PA for the show at the time.
A Pennsylvania?
Yes, she was a Pennsylvania for At Midnight. But I got to hold up a word bubble that said points and get my picture taken.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And that picture is proudly on your mantle.
That's right. I really need to buy a fireplace so that mantle makes sense.
Well, Steve, in the text table over, a young Kirk and Luann Van Houten concoct a master plan to get out of signing the contract. Kirk pops the strawberry into his mouth, and while his face turns red and swells up, Luann loudly states that he has a severe allergic reaction and needs to get to the hospital immediately. So she drags him out of the conference room and stabs an EpiPen in his leg. So as his face almost returns to normal, Kirk brags about getting yet another free breakfast, and all he had to do was risk death.
So there you go. You can go to that window seminar and just eat something that you're allergic to and get out of it, no problem.
Or just say, I'm allergic to it.
That's true.
No one's going to ask for proof.
You don't have to go to an allergy test and get like, hey, you're not gluten intolerant. But back in the presentation, Nick Callahan points out the croquembouche, and it's 85 shoe puffs, and Homer scoffs, saying that he wouldn't sign a lifetime contract for a stupid dessert. Well, not again after what happened to Spectrum Cable. Nick then pulls out a boombox and plays some inspirational music. He talks about the greatness of America and buying the things that you can afford, and the screen behind him shows happy families walking along the beach, playing in the pool, enjoying some snow sports, and even walking on the moon. He loudly declares that luxury vacations are not just for the rich and famous, they're for the average slobs, like Homer.
Nick then asks Homer, which is more important, to feel rich or to be rich? Homer confidently answers to be rich, and Nick asks him to try again, which he does, saying, to feel rich? He's then urged to sign the contract, or commit his family to a life with nothing to look forward to. And Marge shakes her head and Homer slams the pen down defiantly. Marge is relieved, but that is short-lived as Nick throws in a boombox. And Marge asks when they can actually enjoy the timeshare, and Nick presses play on the boombox, and we hear The Waiting by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, which of course was previously featured in Season 9's The Cartridge Family, which we can never watch.
That's true.
Schwartzwelder episode, right?
It is, yeah.
Is that episode controversial? Because I enjoyed it, and maybe a lot of people don't.
I enjoy it too. I think in the canon of Simpsons and the different versions of Homer, I think that one is considered one of the Homer being a bad person the most.
Yeah.
And just because he was putting his family in danger. But that's kind of a weird point because that's kind of the whole idea of the episode.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a pro-conservative Republican episode.
I mean, it is Schwartzwelder, so yeah.
Yeah. Back when Republicans were cool.
That's right. Well, maybe they're still a little cool.
There's at least 2 or 3 that I think are pretty cool.
Yeah.
I do like how the promotional gift is a boombox. And if this is supposed to be 10 years ago, it's 2014 when boomboxes are still obsolete.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a boombox has really been relevant since, really, their heyday was 1988.
Yeah. We all listen to music on our cell phones these days.
Mm-hmm.
Cell phones, remember that weird phase where cell phones were big, then they got small, but now they're getting big again?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be the point where cell phones are going to be the size of a boombox? So we can hold our cell phone on our shoulders and blast our music?
I think it should, because I remember on an episode of Scrubs, during the time when cell phones were getting smaller, and JD or Turk or somebody commented about getting a new phone, and it was literally the size of a matchbook, and it was just so tiny.
I vaguely remember that, yeah. Is it time for a Scrubs rewatch?
I feel like it should hold up, mostly.
Do we have to do a podcast about it?
We'll put it on the Patreon.
All right, that sounds good.
Yeah.
See, we're going to go to a clip, okay? So we're going to present day. The Simpsons arrive on land as dolphins leap in front of a rainbow, and Marge sees a familiar pastry.
The croquembouche. Homer, you were right. I can't believe it. The monthly fees, the maintenance fees, the fee calculating fees, all worth it.
Welcome, Mr. Burns. Mr. Smithers, who's a good boy?
Heel, stop biting my heel.
These dogs have been working hard and need a vacation. They need to be pampered, pedicured, and anally expressed twice a day. Relax the hounds.
Yes, sir.
Me and those dogs have a lot in common.
Explain.
I also need to be pampered and anally expressed twice a day.
We really need to stop recording in person.
Sorry. I'll get a towel. Before Lindsay Naegle can anally express the hounds, she sees the Simpsons enjoying themselves out of the corner of her eye, and so she uses a dustbuster to suck up the champagne from Marge and Homer's glasses, telling them that everything there is for the guests only. And she tells Lisa that also includes the view, so she turns her head from the idyllic island landscape so that Lisa's now facing Moe, who's in the sand digging for clams, which he plays like maracas.
And Homer tells Lindsay that they may not have a lot of money, but they are rich in what matters. Points! Lindsay informs Homer that the timeshare company they invested in no longer owns the Yellow Lotus property, but as a courtesy, she'll honor those points. So a server brings a tray of shrimp, and Miss Naegle empties her dustbuster, refilling Homer and Marge's champagne flutes, telling them that she'll see them at checkout.
So yeah, as you mentioned, Craig, you've never seen the White Lotus either season, and you are not familiar with the show.
You know how we do this podcast where it's a random episode of The Simpsons?
Mm-hmm.
I just did that with White Lotus that I put on season 2, episode 6, and I was very confused.
Yeah, that's maybe not the best place to start.
All right. I'll try again.
You'll be fine. In a large hotel room, Bart dumps a box of stink bombs into a drawer. Lisa enjoys the view, finally, and Marge checks out the in-room information. Homer drinks a mini bottle of booze, and Maggie sucks on a Toblerone bar. Marge is sure that this will be the most wonderful week of their lives. And then suddenly, there's a knock on the door. It's Lindsay Naegle, informing the family that it's actually checkout time. So as the hotel employee throws Homer's slippers into a fireplace, Homer learns just how valuable his precious points actually are.
Excuse me. May I remind you we have accumulated 450 million points?
Which equals 20 minutes. Your stay is over. This room now belongs to Dr. and Mrs. Hibbert.
Oh, you think you've won, eh? We are taking the free shampoo! Stupid shampoo! Why is everything I want to steal bolted down? Checkmate!
We requested a sober room, no minibar. My wife has gone a whole year without a drink.
Thank you, Julius. Please tell everybody. I won't mention how you have your nurse finish your operation so you can go play golf. Oops.
I do like the callback of Bernice being an alcoholic. That's a nice ongoing thing. And then Steve, you've talked about this in many of podcasts before about a certain sound that Marge makes, and you never understand it. Well, thanks to a friend of the show, Heather, and I guess mother to my child,
Sure.
figured it out for me.
Okay. Do tell.
Did you figure it out in this episode?
No, I did notice it there.
Let me play the sound real quick so people know what we're talking about. Well, Steve, if you watch the clip again when that sound is heard, it's Marge's hair on the door frame.
Ah. So it's... Okay. I see. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, okay.
Because it's always when she's leaving a room.
Yeah. I'll allow it.
Okay. So Bernice Hibbert steps into the bathroom and opens her purse to reveal several bottles of pills. It may have been a year since her last drink, but she's still coping with self-medication. Thanks to her husband being a doctor, Julius treats his maladies the old-fashioned way, with booze.
Yay. On the docks, Homer, Marge, and the kids wait for the public ferry to take them home. But the next arrival isn't until 6 the following morning, and as they wait, they see a new guest arrive.
Welcome to the Yellow Lotus. I'm Shauna. You're Tasha.
Yes, I know my name. Usually. I also ordered a welcome massage. Not Swedish, Yatsu. Also, it hurts when I smile. Can you help? I love the Yellow Lotus resorts. So many beautiful bodies, especially the dead ones.
Whatever I can do to help, let me know.
I have 3 connecting Diamond Lotus suites. One for me, one for my husband, and one for my luggage.
That woman's luggage gets a room, but we don't? Is this why we defeated the Nazi zombies in Call of Duty World at War?
Well, Steve, I know Jennifer Coolidge was the star of season 1 of the White Lotus. It's great that she's here, doing a parody of her character.
Well, Craig, I hate to correct you, but she's actually star of season 1 and season 2 of the White Lotus.
See, I don't know.
Yeah, also, that's not Jennifer Coolidge, you idiot.
That wasn't Stifler's mom?
No. That's SNL star and probable friend of Nancy, aka Scientologist, Chloe Feynman, doing her best Jennifer Coolidge impression, and does a very good job.
I think she auditioned with Jennifer Coolidge. I believe before she was on SNL, she was doing impressions of Jennifer Coolidge. Wasn't she on Twitter before SNL was doing a lot of impressions?
I think so.
Yeah.
In fact, I feel like the White Lotus is probably part of the reason why she's on SNL, because it put the first season put Jennifer Coolidge back into the zeitgeist, allowing Chloe Feynman to go on Twitter and do an impression of her, which then, garnered the attention of Lorne Michaels and company. So, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy Chloe Feynman's professional career.
Yes, I agree.
She's great on SNL and just a funny impressionist, yeah. She's the she's the modern age Frank Caliendo.
Indeed. I also enjoyed Shauna in that clip.
Whatever.
Just her, so yeah. Really funny.
Shauna is the cartoon version of Aubrey Plaza. Not Aubrey Plaza on the White Lotus, but
Right.
Aubrey Plaza was I'm just gonna be Shauna in my real life.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I like it.
So if we ever need to do a Parks and Rec casting with the Simpsons characters, definitely Shauna. Shauna would be April. I know it's some whitewashing,
Yeah.
but, this is the Simpsons. I don't think there's any Hispanic characters except for Bumblebee Man and Dr. Nick.
Don't forget Senor Ding Dong.
There you go. I hope no one's ever talked about how only white people do voices on The Simpsons.
Yeah. Well, now you got to be thinking about casting Parks and Rec as The Simpsons, and I don't know. It's a whole wormhole that I can go down.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly, who's Ron Swanson?
That's the biggest thing. Is like visually, you want to say Ned Flanders, but that doesn't make sense.
No, who's that character in The Simpsons that they really don't have one?
Right. I think John Schwartzwelder is the closest thing.
That's kind of perfect.
Yeah, and then of course you have Lisa as Leslie Knope.
Right.
I think that Milhouse would probably be. Would he be Adam Scott? He's not a winner though.
No. Can it? Well, it can't be Bart.
Right, that's weird. And he'd be a good Andy.
Would Homer be Jerry?
I was kind of thinking about that, yeah. Because, I mean,
he is a loser.
Right, and if you, look at through, Frank Grimes' eyes...
Right.
It's kind of the same thing where, here's this kind of loser guy.
Frank Grimes, then, is Adam Scott.
That works. Although it is a little weird that Frank Grimes is hooking up with Lisa, but whatever.
Well, maybe it's not Lisa. Maybe it's Lindsay Daggle. No, she's more like the character that Catherine Hahn played on Parks and Rec.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Anyway, Steve, let's get back to the Simpsons. We're like TV show Inception. It's like we're talking about the White Lotus going to a Parks and Rec, and we really need to get back on course with the Simpsons, Steve. We're already 40 minutes in probably on this podcast.
Yeah, let's find that spinning top or whatever happens in Inception. It's been too long.
Yes.
So Bart has a brilliantly devious plan. They could sneak into the rich lady's luggage room and stay there for a week. Homer has suggested that Marge would be against the idea, but before he can finish that thought, Marge says that they are definitely staying in the luggage room. Homer tells his lovely bride that he loves it when she breaks bad.
Oh, speaking of Breaking Bad, no, just kidding. I'm not going to another...
Of course, Ned would be...
They already did that last week, Steve.
Yeah, I know.
So as they enter the basically vacant room, Homer asks Bart how he got a key. He replies that the question Homer should be asking is how he got a machine that makes keys. Homer says he's got you there, Marge, but as Marge points out, she didn't say anything. In their new luxury room, Bart and Lisa jump on the bed, and Maggie steals another Toblerone bar, and Homer shows Marge something he'd never dream was possible. A TV in the bathroom mirror. Homer's always dreamed of watching himself watching TV. Now, I like this ongoing joke, well, I guess it's only twice, about Maggie and her Toblerones. Is that something from White Lotus?
No, it's not. I think that it's just, they needed something for Maggie to do, I think, and Toblerone being kind of an example of a luxury item in a little bit, because it's an elite candy bar, chocolate bar, I'd say, not even candy bar.
Yeah, Toblerone, it's fine for me. I'll eat it, but I'm wow, I feel fancy eating this.
Here's my hot take on the Toblerone bar. I like the flavor, I like the texture, I don't like the shape.
Is it because you're American and you want it to be flat?
Kind of. I just find the form factor to be not conducive to eating it. But I do like that there's a hidden bear on the label, so points on that. Points.
Oh, God, more points. All right.
So as Marge admires Tasha's vast jewelry collection, she thinks that Tasha must be the happiest person in the world. She then overhears Tasha in the next room, complaining to her husband that he's always leaving her, suggesting that he might be making another one of his secret phone calls. So Marge sneaks onto the balcony, where she learns that secret phone call is being made by a familiar voice.
She suspects nothing. She won't know until the minute my hands were around her neck.
We have to warn that poor woman. She's in danger.
But we're on vacation, and Bob's only an attempted murderer. Attempted!
My ears are burning.
Sideshow Bob!
Hello, Simpsons. Bart,
Don't Bart me, man. What's your evil plan this time?
I might ask the same of you. I believe you and your sticky-fingered family are squatting in a luxury suite meant for my wife's luggage.
How do we know you're not just after her money?
Now, Marge, that hurts. I have my own fortune. I invented a rake with a collapsible handle. No more head bonks.
It's Sideshow Bob.
Did we know that Sideshow Bob was going to be on this week's episode?
I don't think so, but from Paramount Plus's Frasier, it's Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, we've just had a Sideshow Bob episode as well, so right before our season premiere. So it's nice to hear the dulcet tones of Kelsey Grammer, the G-Man himself.
Indeed. He's got a new invention, and eager to show off that invention, Sideshow Bob throws down the rake, and, as he does, he steps on it. And as expected, the handle flies up, but because of his invention, it does not hit his face. Instead, it lands squarely on his crotch.
I like a good ball kick, or, crotch pain joke, right?
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you were going to say joke. I was like, okay, I can kick you in the nuts if you want, but yeah, it's always funny. It's like, pardon the phrasing, but it is low-hanging fruit, but I like it.
It's classic buffoonery. Not buffoonery, but pain.
Yeah, but, taking pleasure in other people's pain is always fun, and the basis of the Republican Party, not a political podcast. But yeah, so the rake does land on Bob's crotch, and then he offers the Simpsons two options. They can either A, expose his past to Tasha, and he calls the police on them for trespassing, which is a sad thought, trespassing, because she's a great voice actress. And if she died, it'd be really a bummer. Or option B, everyone stays quiet and enjoys their respective vacation. From the water slide down below, Bart says that it's not his place to judge Sideshow Bob, and then he takes the plunge. Marge agrees to Bob's conditions for a week, and Homer accepts the terms as well, saying that if Bob's wife turns up dead, even once, he's calling the cops.
So Tasha calls for her groom, and Sideshow Bob says that he was doing vocal exercise in the luggage room, so he didn't disturb her. As he checks on her, saying, peas and carrots, Marge whispers as she guesses they're trusting the psychopath. Bob returns to correct her, saying he's a sociopath, a different diagnosis altogether, and that he has a slight touch of the narcissist, and he admires himself in the mirror. He then steps on the rake, which, once again, hits him in the junk.
Good stuff. I love a callback. Bart and Lisa splash in the pool. Tasha introduces herself to Marge, who's reading the massive autobiography My Name is Barbara by Barbra Streisand. Marge tells her that once she packed the book, she didn't have room for anything else. She then sets the massive tome on a nearby table, which crashes from the heft of the book. And Tasha has the audio version on her phone, but to do that, she had to delete all the photos to make room. But after all, who needs your own memories when you have Barbara's? Because, Craig, that real biography, I looked it up, is 970 pages. And Barbra Streisand reads the audiobook as well, which is over 48 hours long. And I have been into reading more this year. It's kind of been my goal. And occasionally I'll do an audiobook. And your average audiobook, like your average 200 to 400 page audiobook, is about 8 to 14 hours. So the fact that this one is 48 hours is crazy.
That just goes to show how important everything in her life was.
Yeah.
Also, what was the unedited book length?
Oh my God, yeah.
I feel bad for that editor. So as Marge and Tasha listen to Bab's life story together, Homer sees the kids playing and whisper shots to them to try to be inconspicuous. So they agree, quietly playing Marco Polo. As they softly say the first and last name of the explorer, Homer shouts Polo before landing a cannonball, drawing the attention of Yellow Lotus staff. They say, "You don't belong here," and pull Bart, Lisa, and Maggie out of the pool. One worker then tells Homer that he's in the adults-only pool, and the hotel will take care of the kids for the rest of the trip. Homer does another cannonball, soaking patrons at the poolside bar.
Well, we then go to the fancy kids club, where rich, well-dressed children enjoy a ball pit, a donut display, an arcade, and an ice sculpture squishy luge in the shape of a dolphin. Lisa examines a pile of hot dogs and hamburgers, politely requesting a vegan option. But Bart tells his sister to act like the people around her, while Homer and Marge appreciate that they're giving their kids the finer things in life.
What the hell are you doing? I mean, saying excuse me and please? Rich kids talk like that.
Hello? Do I have to color in this drawing myself? Inside the lines, dum-dum.
You'll never blend in, Lise.
You call these crudité? I want farm to table.
Isn't it grand? Our kids are getting spoiled in a way we could never afford.
Have you noticed something, Homer? We're the only happy people here.
Fancy people being fancy.
Well, Marge then looks across the resort and sees the Hibbarts sitting at a table, stewing silently. Mayor Quimby and his wife arguing, Sideshow Mel sadly drinking tropical cocktail after tropical cocktail all alone, as a statue of a woman's head weeps. Homer states that the rich jerks may not appreciate all they have, but he and the rest of the family does.
So Homer and Marge then visit the spa, where Homer asks for a masseur for the plus-sized man. So a massage therapist with gigantic hands, 2 of them, wiggles his fingers as Homer moans with delight. And Marge requests the works at the spa: a full-body sage scrub, seaweed foot mask, pumpkin face mask, cedar oil hair mask, and a toxin-release mud bath. Homer wants the same, and as they enjoy their pampering, Lindsay Naegle walks by the Burns hounds, who are receiving pedicures. She then walks by the mud baths, where Homer and Marge have submerged their heads to avoid getting caught. And once Lindsay's gone, Marge thinks that they can finally relax, when she overhears a tarot card reader describing possible futures for Bernice Hibbert, Waylon Smithers, and Tasha.
Somebody here is going to die.
Ah! Who will it be? The poisoned queen? The suffering toady? Or is it the hanged bride? Beware.
Beware? Is it existential crisis beware? Or is it beware like the egg salad's gone bad?
Oh, don't worry. These hotel fortune tellers are always fakes.
Mama, we need you in the kitchen, huh?
Just as I predicted. Oh, there's something I'm afraid I have to tell you. Something bad.
Sounds like I'm gonna need a macaron.
Better take the whole plate.
I think you may be married to a murderous psychopath.
Sociopath.
What? That's crazy.
Bob married my sister for her money, and she has way less than you.
I have a question. Did Bob and his Italian wife get divorced?
That is a very good question. I do not know that.
We could do research, but I feel like, Steve, your fingers are too tired to do that kind of research.
They really are. And, I don't want to spoil anything for when we inevitably get to the Italian episode, because that's like, yeah, we're allowed to watch that, yeah?
Yeah.
So, I wanted that to be a surprise.
Okay. Because he has a kid.
Right.
Yeah.
A kid with a vendetta.
Yeah. Steve, how are you on macaroons? Are you a fan?
Yeah, I like a macaroon. I do get confused because there's a macaron and a macaroon.
Did I say it wrong?
Well, that's the confusion, is because everyone calls them all macaroons, and I think that's kind of acceptable, but I think the macaroon sandwich cookie, like Tasha was talking about, is pronounced traditionally macaron. But I feel like
she did, yeah.
Right, but I think that, in common usage, macaroon is kind of universal, but the coconut macaroon is also a fine cookie. But yeah, I like them both.
Yeah. I haven't had a macaroon, the coconut one, in a long time.
Yeah, neither have I. I know, I know store Trader Joe's sometimes sells frozen macarons, various flavors, and those are pretty good.
Yeah, isn't the macaron like one of the harder pastries to perfect?
Yeah, because it's basically making like a very delicate Oreo cookie structurally, but the quote-unquote bread of the sandwich is a very delicate cookie, because it's supposed to like break in your mouth, but like setting it up can be very hard.
Would you rather have the world's best macaron or an Oreo cookie?
Oh, I do love a macaron, but you can't deny that Oreo is kind of the perfect cookie.
Yeah, I've ate my share of Oreos in my life. And all the flavors, I feel like all the flavors, even the wacky ones, like, they're still good.
Mm-hmm.
When I mean wacky, I'm not sure which one I would say is the wackiest, but God, I remember the peanut butter and jelly one. That was really good.
Ooh, yeah.
But I like the golden ones. I think my favorite, though, is two. It's the Oreo Thin Lemon and Oreo Thin Mint. Those two are outstanding. Like, the Oreo Thin Mint is so good. Like, I would eat that Oreo Thin Mint over the Girl Scouts Thin Mints. So, sorry, Girl Scouts.
I think I agree with you. Like, the Oreo Thin, first of all, health whatever. I don't care about, like, the calories. I think just the structure of it is so great. It works really well.
The cookie part is nice because it's a nice and, like, thin, wafery, crisp flavor.
Mm-hmm.
I actually approve of that. I'm glad to think I might approve. But yeah, I enjoyed that flavor sensation in my mouth more than your basic Oreo, which, again, basic Oreo is still one of the greatest of all time.
Right. In the 80s and 90s, the move was to go for double stuff or extra stuff and, like, put more frosting and just more. And I think less is better. Like, I think that the thinner, I would prefer that. So.
Wow. So, did you just turn the new phrase "less is more"?
I think so, yeah.
Wow, congratulations, Steve.
I'm an innovator.
All right.
Let me tell you about my thoughts about money and time later.
Hey, Steve, Tasha tells Marge that she's an ironclad prenup, so if they should divorce, Bob would get nothing, unless, of course, she was murdered. But that's just boilerplate. So she then looks over to find Bob at a piano playing, killing her softly with My Words, a rendition of Roberta Flack song made famous, of course, by Fugees at one time.
One time.
Dumb joke.
Sideshow Bob then requests that security take away the trespassers, Homer and Marge, who went back on their word. Lindsay Naegle is shocked to find the Simpsons still at the resort and call for security, who were enjoying the spa themselves with their little, cucumber eye covers. Homer and Marge run for it, and Lindsay grabs Homer's robe, revealing his black Gucci swim trunks.
Homer and Marge jump into the water, and Homer uses his fat to propel himself, much like a seal. The below-water restaurant sees this and is disgusted, and Luigi's mother begs him to throw spaghetti sauce in their eyes, and finds the hot red sauce to be a relief. Steve, is it me, or does Luigi's mother look a lot like a Van Houten?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to share the same thought with you, because we know from previous episodes that the Van Houtens, despite that name, do have Italian heritage, which makes me wonder, let's not bring Mario into this. Are Luigi and Milhouse somehow related?
Are you saying all Italians are related, Steve? Are you racist towards Italians?
Maybe.
I'll have you know, Steve, that I, your co-host, am... Hold on, I'm trying to look at my 23andMe real quick. I don't think I have any Italian.
Good.
I got France, lots of German, Belgium, Netherlands. Yeah, no Italian, Steve.
That's a relief.
What I really like are the SpaghettiOs.
That traditional Chef Boyardee, he knew his stuff.
Yeah, and I'm really into authentic Italian cuisine. I go to Olive Garden at least once a week.
Yeah, I mean, when you're there, it's like your family.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll never know, but hopefully they could connect Luigi and the Van Houtens one of these days.
Yeah.
If you just have a joke of, like, Luigi's actually Kirk's brother.
Mm-hmm.
Well, later that night, Homer and Marge approach a hedge labyrinth when Lindsay and her crew spot them. Homer feels that a hotel manager has more important things to do, but Lindsay is adamant about protecting the brand. So worried about getting caught, Homer tells Marge to do what he does, and then collapses into the bushes much like he did in Homer Loves Flanders, which now, Steve, I feel like they've already kind of parodied this on The Simpsons. I can't recall what episode it was.
Yeah.
But it's kind of overused meme now at this point.
Yeah, I think the point when it became, like, people on Etsy were selling those kitchen sponge holders.
Sponge, yeah.
That look like the bush.
Don't get me wrong, I would definitely want one of those.
Yeah, the first time I thought, I was like, oh, that's really novel. But I just feel like it's just a sign that, maybe we've, like, a little bit overdone that idea.
Yeah. Like, The Simpsons, I don't think needs to parody it at this point. Everyone else can, but I don't think The Simpsons needs to.
Yeah, but Homer and Marge emerge from the other side of the hedge to find Julius Hibbert yelling at his wife, asking if she wants to leave the resort in a body bag. He's holding a book entitled Containing Your Addiction, But when he opens it up, it's actually just 3 shelves of pill bottles, showing that it literally contains her addiction. Homer and Marge go through more hedges, learning how messy the lives of the upper crust can actually be.
The only hard part will be getting her to the top of the cliff.
If the hounds don't taste blood soon, I fear they'll go mad.
This resort is filled with psychos, murderers, and mild neurotics.
Hey, my leg hurts. Whenever there's fog.
Oh my God, Marge, it's the worst one of all.
Who here has ever wanted to take a vacation and earn money at the same time?
I mean, I do.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Take a vacation. Yeah.
Sounds great. Also, I feel bad for old Jewish man because, you know, he kind of got roped into, like, being one of the horrible people, but he's just suffering from leg pain because it's foggy.
Yeah. Steve, I'm at that point now where I have, like, knee pains.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are you, like, achy and old?
A little bit. I think I sprained my finger carrying home groceries the other day. So, I guess I am doing that.
Well, I don't know if I mentioned on the podcast before, but I used to be a runner, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
15 years ago. And I stopped running because I hurt my knee doing it. Because running, although, it's great cardio, is really stupid to do on your body. No offense to runners out there, but yeah, your body just goes to hell. Anyways, that's besides the point. So everything was fine, but sometimes occasionally I get like a little knee pain, but it was triggered earlier this summer. I don't know if I brought this up on the podcast when it took like a line drive from like a baseball to the knee.
Oh.
Now, it wasn't like an actual baseball. It was a wiffle ball, but it wasn't an actual wiffle ball. It was like a thicker, harder plastic ball.
Oh, yeah.
That a 10-year-old boy hit. I threw it to him and and he hit a line drive right to my knee and just triggered my knee. So now going up and down stairs, it hurts.
Oh, yeah.
To the point where I have to put on the knee, like a knee brace thing.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while. So no more me being on the knees, Steve.
It's disappointing to several people, I'm sure.
Especially to your anal glands.
That's right. Getting old is sucks, and you don't anymore. So much like Homer, Nick backs into a bush, Homer style, and the following morning, Homer and Marge confront him saying that he sold them a worthless timeshare. He says that they'll have to be far more specific, and so Marge puts a seat cushion under her shirt to remind him of when she was with child, but Nick has no idea how many pregnant women he's defrauded. Marge informs him that the baby is now 10 years old, and she holds up her phone, which shows a picture of Bart mooning his little butt.
After sarcastically saying that he'll never forget Bart's ass, Nick remarks that the Simpsons must have acquired a whole lot of debt, but he's no longer in that business. He now gets people out of timeshare scams, which is also a scam, one he finds way more profitable. Angered, Marge breaks Nick's pen in two.
Hey, I need that for evil.
You have some very bad karma, mister.
Ooh, I have bad karma. Oh, I'm so scared. Oh, please don't hurt me, Hindu gods.
Don't be a smart aleck. When you do something bad, it always catches up with you.
Gotcha, moochers.
Moochers?
They're despicable. I've been watching you all be miserable in paradise and take everything for granted. So you may be wealthier, but we're rich in what counts.
Points?
The ability to go on vacation and have fun without plotting to kill our loved ones. And now, lady, I'm going to take in the view.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about killing my loved ones while on vacation, so I'm like Marge.
One thing that my wife and I have noticed whenever we go on vacation is that we are very good travel partners to each other, and it makes the vacation a lot better, because I have been with other partners who don't travel with me as well, and it sucks to be on vacation and being unhappy. So, yeah, if you can find somebody you can go on vacation with, that's a good sign.
What is your typical day of vacation? Do you have an itinerary? Do you need to be up at a certain time? Do you have, whatever it is? What is like a typical vacation?
Yeah, so we usually do have a loose itinerary, nothing set in stone. We're real cool. We always go to several museums wherever we go. It's usually museums and food. Those are like the two things that we do. Like, I don't need to go ripcord riding or bungee jumping or, whatever people do. Like, I don't need to eat fire or eat ass or whatever. I just want to have some good food and, like, learn a little bit about the culture. And then just, like, try and be in a place that's, like, evocative of where I'm at that isn't too touristy.
If you're, say, somewhere for, like, a week, could one of those days, like, you guys just chill at the hotel or the Airbnb that you're at?
Oh, sure.
Do you have to do something every day?
No.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of love that, too. Like, when you have, like, a lazy day, or you just sit around and, like, read or just don't do anything. That's a lot of fun, too.
Yeah, especially if you're paying for, like, a hotel that has amenities.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of want to use it, you know?
Yeah. Do you have to, like, stick to a plan, or do you kind of, like, play it loosey-goosey?
Yeah, there's usually a plan. Like, the first time we went to California, like, there was something that we had to do every day.
Yeah.
The last time we went, though, recently, like, we didn't really have a plan, which I think I prefer that a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I hadn't been to California since I was a kid, so, like, I had to do touristy things the first time I was there. But now it's just like, I don't need to do that stuff. I tried to go to Hawaii, like, a year ago, Maui specifically. I was like, no one's going there right now. I better go.
Yeah.
You know that one side of the island that, yeah.
Good stuff.
It's like Oprah will let me use her place, I think.
Sure, yeah. And everyone will be glad to see you.
Yeah. No, I just hate checkout times, that's all. It's like, you know, like, let's say you get to, you know, most check-in times are like 3. I think it should be 3 to 3. That should be I know you have to, like, turn over the room.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you should check in and then check out that same time. So, like, if you don't check in until 8 p.m., then you should be able to check out at 8 p.m.
That seems generous but fair.
Sorry to the maid staff, but...
Yeah, they can just live on site and...
Why not?
Yeah.
Or how about this? Like, you... no, that turns into an Airbnb. I'm like, but you have to wash the sheets.
Yeah.
My only gripe with Airbnb is now it's like, I gotta wax their floors and repaint their fence every time I'm there.
Yeah, somebody shit all over the bathroom. Like, I gotta clean that up?
The door's locked and you get mad that I break it open to see what's in the other room. And it's just a bunch of female underwear and I try it on for fun. And you get mad at that?
Come on, I mean, be hospitable. I'm a guest.
I always get nervous, though, like, at Airbnbs, and I was just, tangent, we really need to wrap this up, but there's always, like, sometimes a locked room. You know, a lot of times it's, like, the primary bedroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the residents don't live there, but I always feel like they're still in that room.
Oh, yeah.
And they're, like, monitoring us, and, like, there's, like, some dude just, like, jerking off the whole time watching us.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Psycho situation where, like, there's just, like, looking through a window. I'm talking about the Gus Van Sant remake where Vince Vaughn is just masturbating.
Remake? I thought that was an original IP.
I mean, it's a pretty original idea. Like, what if we had a movie where Vince Vaughn masturbates? I think more movies should have that.
Yeah. R.I.P. and H.
That's right. Anywho, as Marge enjoys the lovely vista, Yellow Lotus security guards pick her up and carry her and the rest of the family to the dock, where their luggage is marked with stickers that say Mooch, Parasite, Deadbeat, and Freeloader. But noticing that the ferry isn't due for some time, Marge suggests that she and Homer go for one last swim.
So we return to where we began, at Smuggler's Cove, where it's not Marge's cold, stiff fingers around Homer's ass. So meanwhile, the Hibberts argue high in the sky in the basket of a hot air balloon. Julia says there's only one way to end this, and then grabs Bernice's purse and empties it off the side of the balloon, sending all kinds of pills into the water. He then tells Bernice that he loves her and that they aren't coming down until she's clean, or until he figures out how to get the balloon back to the land. So in the water below, an otter enjoys the various medications that Bernice abused.
On land, Sideshow Mel is surrounded by Burns' hounds, who are hungry for his bone. And they take it, but luckily he's packed to spare, but the dogs take that too, resulting in Mel shouting and kinda awkward, "Duh-oh?" Meanwhile, high in a cliff, Tasha stands near the edge as Sideshow Bob approaches her. With his hands outstretched, he says, "For you, my darling," and puts those hands around her neck. The camera zooms out to show that he's given her a new necklace, which puts her mind at ease. All is well, until she pushes him off the cliff.
Oh, wow. All these secret phone calls were to arrange this?
Like all sociopaths, all I really needed was the love of a good woman. and the proper medication. Now all I want to do is smother you with kisses and set you ablaze with passion.
Well, I'll be. He's as great a husband as I am.
Now, my dear, may I serenade you with the divine Gilbert and Sullivan? A wandering minstrel I, a thing of shreds and patches, of ballad songs and snatches. What? Tasha, why?
I'm a fast-cycling manic depressive. Oh, no, Bob! What have I done?
Bob!
Mel, my bestie Krusty.
The three of us should have lunch.
Yes, but not this week. I'm doing a cleanse.
Ah, your colon will thank you.
It's nice to get a Gilbert and Sullivan reference again from Bob.
Yeah, and I like that, Bob's, insanity is kind of water under the bridge at this point, and, he sees Mel, and it's like, hey, we should all, get together, because, we're all cool now.
Yeah, and he was like, give my best to Krusty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Krusty's not trying to kill Bart at all in this episode, is he?
No, I think they're past that in a way. It's been 30 years.
I'm kind of okay with that, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Even though I've never seen White Lotus, thank God this episode doesn't really spoil Jennifer Coolidge's character of being a bad guy, right?
Right. Or does it?
Oh, no, Steve. I know she was the bad guy.
That's Billie Eilish. Duh.
You're right. Well, as they witness all of this, Homer tells Marge that he guesses that everyone's fine. Miss Risotto pops up from the water to say, except for the body, holding up a tarot card that says, hokey plot device. We then find Nick Callahan snorkeling when he's approached by what he thinks to be a shark. It's actually an adorable little otter who happens to be hopped up on Bernice's meds. The otter attacks Nick, killing him. So his body floats by Homer and Marge as Kent Brockman reports the oxy-otter has ended the life of the real estate agent, who leaves behind 80 billion points. As the credits begin to roll, the White Lotus-like theme plays and sings about rich people acting despicably. So we can all feel better about yourselves, like Fantasy Island, Glass Onion, and even Lord of the Flies. Steve, that is going to do it for this week's episode.
Oh boy.
But we're not done yet. We're still going to talk a little bit more. Mostly give us a little review, so we're going to take a break and come back and do said thing that I just said.
Sounds wonderful.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Once again we've seen rich people act despicably and feel better about ourselves, like Fantasy Island and Glass Onion and even Lord of the Flies.
We're back. All right, Steve, let's wrap up this week's episode of The White Lotus. We'll talk about some of our favorite jokes and scenes, and we'll give it a nice review to find out what we're watching next week. But before we do all of that, we will give a gift. That's our one bit that keeps on going, Steve.
That's right.
We used to start off with something from this episode that we get a tattoo of, right? Because Simpsons tattoos were the thing.
Mm-hmm.
We said, no more tattoos. We're all inked up after, 200 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
So we got no more room left. So now we find something from this episode that could be made into a product or a service, and we will give that product or service to our friend, which is our co-host.
That's right.
So Steve, for you, we talked a little bit about it on the podcast, and I know you probably are going to give me the same thing, but sorry, I have to beat you to it. I got you Barbra Streisand's biography and audiobook.
Oh, boy.
But also, I was able to find the unedited version, and I know the biography that you can purchase has over 900 pages. This one's over 9,000 pages.
Wow.
So, yeah. Enjoy reading it. And, you might be a little sore, maybe in some pain from reading that and listening to the audio biography on tape. Oh, yeah, by the way, it's on tape. So here's a boombox also to go with the cassettes. 48 hours. That's a that's a lot of cassettes too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm also going to give you this giant box of miscellaneous medication. It says Bernice Hibbert's meds. So have fun with that too.
Oh, wow. That's very nice of you, Craig. Don't think that I didn't get you anything, because I did. I got you, we talked about, pastries, and I got you some both macarons and macaroons. And if that doesn't cure your sweet tooth, I also got you a croquembouche with all the choux, all 85 of them. And, I got you some mini bottles of liquor, because pills can be dangerous, but booze, that's one for the ages. So, yeah.
You just wanted me to get fatter, Steve. I'm already fat as it is. You're giving me all this sugary food and booze.
Also, schedule you a colonoscopy. How's that?
See, I'm a little suspicious of you right now, Steve. It's almost, Thanksgiving season, and I hear you've been hanging out with Army Hammer a lot, so you're really fattening me up. I'm a little nervous about this.
I'll also, let you have some lobster like Ken Brockman was eating, so for no reason, just because.
Also, why do you have all these books about the Donner Party?
I love a good shindig. I love a good party. Donner kebab is also tasty, so I assume that we could have Donner kebabs at our next party.
All right, that tracks.
Okay.
Steve, what
Yes.
made you laugh in this episode?
There was a few things I liked in this. I like Shauna, and it was a brief performance, but I thought she was very funny. Chloe Feynman's Jennifer Coolidge was really spot on, very good. I appreciate all of the references to previous episodes, especially from Season 9. We had Homer going through the bushes, which is not from Season 9, but we had the Cartridge Family with the Tom Petty song. There are a lot of fun callbacks. I don't know if it made me laugh, but I really liked the way that there was kind of this illusion of people nearly murdering other people, and kind of a reverse Chekhov's gun, or phaser, if you will, where we started the episode with a dead body, and, you see all these other people who could kill each other. Is Hibbert going to kill Bernice for her drug problem? Is Sideshow Bob going to Sideshow Bob his wife? And I guess at this point, Sideshow Bobbing your wife just means to love her very much, but could he kill her? There's all these possibilities, and so I thought that the plot elements were very good. But if I had to pick an MVJ, I would have to say it would be... Let's go with... I'm going to go with Shauna. What are your thoughts, Craig?
Your Shauna scene was great. I'm going to say I enjoyed the Hibberts in this episode. Bernice was great, especially now that you have actress Dawn Lewis voicing Bernice.
Mm-hmm.
It's great that she's actually a character now, not just wallpaper, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
That she's always kind of been. So Bernice is a lot of fun. Shauna, like you mentioned. And, you're right, yeah. And Chloe Feynman's Jennifer Coolidge character of Tasha. I wonder if that's a reference to Star Trek The Next Generation. Tasha Yar.
Could be, probably.
Who was famously killed in Season 1. Spoiler, Steve.
I know.
And maybe, I was going to give it to the MVG to the Hibberts, but I think I got to go with Maggie and her Toblerones.
Yes.
And the flashbacks with the Van Houtens was always fun. Oh, also Luigi's mother might be a nice MVJ. She was a lot of fun. Yeah, we liked all the references minus the Homer Marge backing into the hedges, because we feel like that's a little bit overdone. But
yeah,
we'll stick with. I'm sticking with Maggie for the MVJ. I thought that and maybe the seal, the otter at the end. The
otter was cute. I like that.
Okay. And it was, of course, fun to have a Bob episode, and not knowing that it was a Bob episode. Before you get into your review, Steve, I just want to ask you a question: is this a canon episode, or do you feel like this is like a non-canon episode?
That's a great question. So a lot of times, the Simpsons wikis that I visit for research will kind of share whether they think it's canonical or not, and all the ones that I looked at, seem to feel that this is in fact canon. I kind of feel like it is, just because at the end of the day, nothing that drastic has changed, so it could have happened, and I think we're beyond the point of accepting shifting timelines, so, having them at the time show with pregnant with Bart, that's fine, whatever. But yeah, I think could be canonical, because everything that happened could still, doesn't affect the Simpsons world that much, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not like a major character dies or a major character committed a crime.
Yeah, I think we can all live without Nick Callahan.
Yeah, like like Simpson or Simflix or the two-parter Ned episode. Like I don't feel like that was from last season or 2 seasons ago. A Series of Flanders, that was called. Like I don't consider that canon.
Right. I think last week's episode probably wouldn't be canonical either.
No. All right. Well, Steve, just let us know what you thought of this episode. Right? Hold on. Now.
Okay. I am really torn about my thoughts on this episode. They are referencing a show that came out, the second season, which they're referencing, the White Lotus season 2, came out in October of 2022, a full 2 years ago. And they're making a lot of self-referential things. But on the other hand, they're kind of doing what the Simpsons always do and what we're asking of them. And it's not their fault, because I feel like in pop culture, we're lacking a monoculture in a way. Or if we have one, it's very short-lived. So the White Lotus coming out 2 years ago, you don't know how relevant it's going to be. And I don't think about it at all right now, but I know that next year when season 3 comes out, I'm going to think about it a lot. And then if the Simpsons do another season about it or another episode about it, I will be like, oh, that's too late because it'll be 2027. But also the Simpsons have been doing that forever. And so I kind of have to accept that. There's a lot of elements about this episode that kind of irk me. The joke about Hibbert golfing, I think that's a tired joke. The hedge thing I didn't really love. I know we talked about that. The tarot card reading, that's very a little hokey and hacky. But I think structurally the episode actually kind of works. I don't know, I'm really not sure what to think. I think they parodied their thing that they're trying to parody very well. I think there were some really funny jokes in here, and I think it was a fun episode. I wasn't annoyed with it. I just didn't absolutely love this episode, but I think that it's a fine episode. And I'm curious to what you thought of it as somebody who has not seen The White Lotus, and if that perception is very different. Because I do think that if they lean so heavy on the parody that you might be a little bit lost. All this to say that I think that it was a good, not great episode. But if I had to give it a numerical score, they're talking about the White Lotus, and in the second season they're in Sicily. And if Tanya, Jennifer Coolidge's character, as parodied by Chloe Steinman as Tasha, were to stay in her room for 7 nights, it's estimated that those 7 nights would cost $48,000. And so out of $48,000, I'm going to give this a meager $23,000. What do you think, Craig?
I think your score is perfectly fine.
Thank you.
Look, I don't know this series White Lotus as well as you do, but now I have the gist of it, Steve. Do I want to watch White Lotus? I might. It was because of this episode? No, it's just because I want to be culturally relevant, like The Simpsons. And I think you're right about how The Simpsons has been doing this forever, about a pop culture thing that was 2 years ago. But, it takes time for this show to be made, at least a year.
Right.
For a full episode to be produced. So you can't have a turnover like a South Park, right, where they can get it done in 6 days.
Of course.
It's just not possible for The Simpsons. Maybe it is now. I don't know. I don't know with the animation, but as of now, from what I know, is it's not. So I was kind of on a roller coaster of this episode because I started off, I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't know if I'm into this. And then Sideshow Bob shows up, and I do like the rake bit, but with his crotch. Again, callbacks, I forgot to bring that up. And it was fun. And I like the different turn for Bob. And still I have questions like what happened to the Italian wife. But again, it could have been answered in another episode. But that being said, I wasn't totally lost on this. You don't need to watch White Lotus to understand this plot.
Right.
I think you're right. There is a lot of plot elements that have been used over time, like the tarot card, as you said. But my biggest problem was I don't think this episode should have aired after last week's episode. This should have been the second episode of this season.
I think that's a good point. And I do think it was originally produced for the previous season.
Yeah, if you look, it's for season 35. It's the 8th episode produced for 35. That works perfectly. This might have been a fun episode to put in as the winter premiere, or after they've done the winter break after December, after the holidays, the show comes back either in January or February. Like, this would have been a fine episode to come back to. I just think because it has it's a parody of a thing that I think last week's episode was its own special type of thing. And this week's episode of the White Lotus is also its own thing. Now, how they have just done an episode where, one of your standard episodes where Homer fucks a marriage up, Marge is mad, and he has to make Marge trust Homer again. I think would have been fine. Like, if we got to have them just like sitting on the couch, and the Simpsons Springfield proper, I think that's what I needed for a second episode. So this episode, I think we're still out of like the Simpsons element, like just your standard basic element. Fundamentally, I think this is a fun romp of an episode. I would watch it again. I don't despise it as much as you, but coming from that great season premiere to this, I just feel like this should have been placed differently. That's all.
I think so. You make a good point about its placement in this season. And I was just thinking about how last season we had that episode with Taika Waititi, where it's kind of a murder mystery on a boat. And I wonder if they wanted to push this one back because it is kind of samey.
I'm going to say you're absolutely right. Yeah, and we're not kind of fans of that episode either.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't like... Now, I'm not saying this is a gimmick episode, but an episode where it just takes you out of Springfield proper.
Yeah, I like living in the world of The Simpsons, and when you remove yourself too much of that, it kind of takes away from the charm. But
especially at the beginning of the season, because we know in a few weeks we're going to eventually get a Treehouse of Horror, and from all accounts, we're getting like 2 Treehouse of Horror. So
yeah,
I want like a proper Simpsons, before we go into the Treehouse of Horrorness of the season. And then
Agreed.
Maybe they'll have like a Christmas episode, which, I'm fine with too, because it's still usually stuck within the confines of the Simpsons household.
Yes.
Look, if last week's episode was equivalent to Todd Phillips' Joker, maybe this episode is equivalent to Todd Phillips' Joker, Foley, Dave, Fool, whatever it is. Joker 2.
Dave Foley, coach.
Dave Foley. But we haven't seen Joker 2 yet. I know we promised our listeners, but this isn't a Joker podcast yet.
Not yet.
But if I have to give this a real ranking, Steve, the star of this episode, of course, the lovely and talented Chloe Fineman.
Mm-hmm.
She's on a little-known show called Saturday Night Live, which, of course, we all know should be called Sunday Morning Live, because most of the show takes place Sunday morning. Steve, it's on its 50th season. Did you know that, Steve?
I didn't know that.
SNL. Yeah. It's old. It's over the hill now, right?
That's right.
But some would say it was over the hill in season 6, right? Hey, so if I have to give this a ranking out of 50, I'm going to give this the ranking of, let's go with, Steve, you said 23,000?
Yeah.
I'll give it season 23.
That's fair.
That's pretty low, though. I'll be nicer. I'll reverse the numbers, Steve. I'll give it a 32.
Nice. That's probably like late 90s, I guess.
Season 32?
Trying to think like who would be on that
have
show.
You know, Steve, season 32 of SNL starred Fred Armisen, Will Forte, Bill Hader, Daryl Hammond, Seth Meyers, Amy Poehler, Maya Rudolph, Andy Samberg, Jason Sudeikis, Kenan Thompson, and Kristen Wiig. Wow. That's heavy hitters of SNL, Steve. I believe it was Seth Meyers and Amy Poehler's last year. Or no, they were the Weekend Update.
Oh, yeah.
They were the Weekend Update anchors. Such a diverse cast. You had Kenan Thompson, Maya Rudolph, Fred Armisen.
Who will probably all be on the show this year. I mean,
yeah.
2 out of 3 already are.
It was probably a great season because Paula Pell was co-head writer along with Seth Meyers and Harper Stelter that season. Jim Downey also returned that season for the writing staff. And all accounts, this is probably a really good season.
I know. That sounds really good, actually.
Yeah. It featured Dick in a Box, one of the most famous digital shorts. Okay, Steve. I think they were fine without Tina Fey because she wasn't on that anymore. She went over to 30 Rock. I mean, she stayed at 30 Rock.
Right.
But are we going to stay in season 36 of The Simpsons this week, Steve? Are we going to episode 3? That only makes sense. The season just started.
Yeah, we're only 2 episodes in, so I'm excited to see what new things The Simpsons are going to get up to next week.
Well, Steve, unfortunately, I got bad news for you.
Oh.
Yeah, we're going to have to go to a Wheel of Random, because I'm assuming because of the Major League Baseball playoff season, None of my teams, made it, but I'm going to be rooting for a couple teams, Steve. I'm going to be rooting for the Detroit Tigers and the San Diego Padres.
Ah, yes. The teams beloved by Magnum PI and somebody else.
People from San Diego?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
The religious.
The whale's vagina, as it's known to be called, right? San Diego, isn't that the whale's vagina?
Sure, yeah.
Apparently Steve has not seen Anchorman. All right, Steve.
It's been so long, I don't know.
So, Steve, let's spin that wheel to see what... No, Steve, you know what? I was going to pull the wheel, and we were going to land on this episode that we're going to review next week. But it seems too much like a coincidence, and it really comes off as like we're lying to our audience.
We would never.
Yeah, we would never. Look, Steve, we're in October right now. It's the spooky season, Steve. And probably for the next couple of weeks, I'm assuming we're going to be spooky. So I say, Audible, it's going to be a Treehouse of Horror. Specifically, we're going to do Treehouse of Horror 27.
Oh, boy.
That's right. Season 28, Episode 4. It's the 600th episode of The Simpsons, by the way.
Wow.
Originally aired October 16th, 2016. Now, Steve, usually, when we do the Wheel of Random, you have to come up with a title, and you also have to come up with a synopsis. So, obviously, you're not doing the title, but I'm going to have you just give us 3 quick, off the top of your head, what do you think the 3 segments are?
Oh, boy. That's very difficult.
2016 when this aired.
Okay, that's helpful.
But really, think about maybe 2014?
Right.
So I'll let you do a quick Google of like what movies and TVs were popular in 2014. I'll wait, and luckily our listeners won't have to wait because Steve has already done the research.
Well, as we learned earlier in this episode, At Midnight was fresh and new. I'm going to say they're going to do a Twilight parody.
Okay.
Maybe... Is it too... No, I'm going to say they're going to do a Marvel movie parody. Maybe an Iron Man, but like make it scary somehow. And then I think they're going to go to the classics and maybe go for more not so like of the moment. And maybe do an Invisible Man parody.
All right. Where Homer like is invisible and instead of going into like girls' locker rooms, he goes into like Lard Lad. So watch how the donuts are made.
Mm-hmm.
And still jerks off.
Yeah, but luckily he has the tissue wrapped all around him so he can clean up easily.
He doesn't glaze the donuts himself.
Oh, God.
Well, Steve, I don't think any of those are correct. Here's what I got from the internet. In the midst of a major drought, Mr. Burns introduces a Hunger Games-style contest in which Springfield children fight each other for a day in Mr. Burns' personal reservoir. So that must be story 1. And then it goes on to say, meanwhile, Lisa's imaginary best friend, Rachel, is jealous of Lisa's real best friends and starts killing them. What's that a parody of? Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does sound familiar. I feel like maybe, I don't know, actually.
Deus Ex Machina, is that movie? Is that what that one's about? I never saw it.
Maybe?
Not sure. I heard that's supposed to be a good movie. Still have yet to see it.
I saw it a long time ago, but I don't remember. But I liked it. I just don't remember it at all.
But wasn't there like a robot lady and she was killing people?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, hey, we're going to find out next week because we'll watch it next week. But there's still one more story, Steve.
No.
Moe tells Bart that the Barflies are actually covert agents and that he wants Bart to join their team in Homer's place. Is that like a Men in Black thing, maybe? Or...
Maybe. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Bourne Identity, which I've never seen the Bourne movies.
Really?
No. There's a lot of movies I haven't seen. Much like you.
I know. It's just, I always assume that you've seen movies that I haven't seen, and the Bourne seems like something you'd enjoy.
Was it like Bourne Identity, Bourne Legacy, Bourne Old Tomato?
Mm-hmm. Born to be Wild.
Born at the Right Time.
Born on the 4th of July.
Born to be Bad.
The Country of Borneo.
No Country for Born Men. Okay, now I'm just reaching. Okay, Steve, so those are our 3 stories. I am going to ask you, since we're going to the spooky season, to dress up in a Halloween costume next week, okay?
I will do that.
All right, since this is an audio podcast and we don't have a visual component, everyone will believe what you are wearing next week. And I, too, will be dressed in Halloween costume.
I like it.
All right. Well, Steve, thanks again for listening to me.
And thank you for listening to me.
And making words to our listeners so they can hear them. And to our hearing impaired, thanks for reading.
Indeed.
All right. For this week, I'm going to say bye. And we're going to tell you to contact us on social medias like Instagram or Threads or YouTube at 13Simpsons or email us at 13simpsons@gmail.com.
That's right. And hey, you can go to your favorite podcatching app, leave us 5 stars or the equivalent, and leave a review, but you don't actually have to write an actual review. You can just tell us what beloved rich person you'd like to kill.
And don't forget to check out our merch store at tpublic.com/user/AnnoyedGruntBoys. Get yourself some shirts, hats, and a tote bag if you want. All right, for this week, I've been Annoyed Grunt Boy Craig.
And I've been Annoyed Grunt Boy Steve.
And remember, why is everything I want to steal bolted down?
Is this why we defeated the Nazi zombies in Call of Duty World at War?
They need to be anally expressed twice a day.